Judging by how atrocious Season 2 was, I was very skeptical and worried with how Season 3 was going to be, but I was still hopeful to some degree. One bad season of television isn't going to kill a series, and judging by the writing of Season 1, the writers still had a good semblance of goodwill in my eyes. So was Season 3 another terrible train wreck? No, it was actually pretty damn good, and very fun. Was it as good as Season 1? No. Not at all. There seems to have been a time jump from Season 2's finale to the Season 3 premiere. The boys seem to be doing really good and taking down Supes by the books. Butcher seems to be opposed to all this by-the-book stuff, but all is going well until Huey finds out that it's all been a huge waste of time after finding out that Victoria Newman is the head popper from Season 2. So he goes to Butcher and brings the boys back together to stop Homelander once and for all. I'll start with the positives for this season. I really like the introduction to Temp V. It's cool seeing Butcher figure out how to use it and seeing how OP is with the Temp V. In the comics, the boys always used Temp V with zero consequences, so they don't really come up with any plan to defeat the Supes other than using their fists. They also don't have any unique powers and only have super strength. I liked how in the show they gave people different powers, like Butcher not only has super strength but has laser vision. Huey has teleportation. Soldier Boy is easily my favorite character in the entire show. He's super charismatic and a fun character expertly played by Jensen Ackles. He's such an awful person, but you want to root for him and see him win, mainly due to the finale, but we'll get to that sooner or later. He also has some of the funniest lines in the entire show.
Do you hear that?
Might want to lay off the weed, huh?
And you might want to gargle my ball sack.
His whole part of the story is what makes this season really good. Learning about his backstory, learning about what happened to him in Nicaragua. He also seems to be one of the only few Supes that's competent when it comes to fighting and using weapons. The reveal at the end of episode 7 that Soldier Boy is Homelander's dad was a great reveal. Homelander is back to actually being terrifying and somewhat competent. He has some really great scenes that make him an actual credible villain, not some stupid fool like how he was in Season 2. I like how this season built on MM's story from Season 2 about what happened to his family that involved Vought. I think Starlight's character was a complete step up from how she was in Season 2. A lot of her actions make more sense to her character than that horrific shit she did in Season 2. Black Noir was given a lot of character development, and we figure out a lot of questions we had about Black Noir, like how he became mute and what his perspective looks like. And it also tied into the grand story where he was a part of Payback and one of the people who was for getting rid of Soldier Boy. Herogasm is easily the best episode in this season. There's so many great moments in this episode, like Homelander finally catching on to Soldier Boy's existence, A-Train apologizing to Huey, squaring off against Soldier Boy despite being at a huge disadvantage. He wants to face his trauma whether he lives or dies. A-Train killing Blue Hawk, and of course that entire fight at the end with Homelander versus Soldier Boy, Butcher, and Huey. Though that fight does kind of mess up the power scaling. I understand Soldier Boy being able to throw hands with Homelander, but Butcher should have gotten laid out by Homelander in seconds. And Huey shouldn't be able to push him over or push him around or do anything to him. Butcher should have gotten like fucking sent with a single punch considering they're on Temp V and it's not actual Compound V, so there's no way that Butcher should be even standing in this fight. Despite that complaint, I thought it was a solid episode. I really liked Butcher in this season, seeing where his character went. I liked how we got to see his inner turmoil when he got taken over by Mindstorm and seeing his backstory and seeing what his dad did to him and Lenny and seeing the parallels between Huey and Lenny. Now on to the negatives. Huey's entire character arc is god-awful in this season. He randomly feels emasculated because he's not strong or doesn't have powers and feels insecure about the fact that Starlight is the one that's strong and protective, which completely contradicts what was stated in Season 1, which is that he's perfectly fine with all this. But because the writers wanted to have this toxic masculinity angle for the themes of this season, they decided to fuck over Huey in the writing department and make him someone he's not at all. And so for the most part, Huey's just an annoying prick for most of the season and starts conflict for no reason. All because he's insecure and has an inferiority complex for no apparent reason. The subplot with Frenchie and Kimiko is just very weak and painfully boring. Frenchie's arc is completely recycled from Season 2 where he's facing his past once again, and Kimiko decided to tag along with Frenchie in this boring little Nina subplot. I mean, it makes sense for Kimiko to be out of the main plot for a little bit considering she took a blast from Soldier Boy, which takes away your powers. But the part I don't understand is why the writers decided to take Frenchie out of the main plot when he could have made the conflict more interesting. But instead, he's put in a subplot that has almost nothing to do with the main plot and as a result feels like filler. I think the political satire and commentary is pretty weak in this season. The show is at its best with its satire and commentary when it's criticizing corporations doing fake activism, but when the show tries doing any political satire or commentary, it comes off as cringeworthy. It doesn't help that it's very unsubtly one-sided, with the show criticizing the left a little bit, mostly criticizing the right. It feels like the writers didn't know what to do with Ryan, so they just kicked him out of the story for a while until they brought him back to the finale, which, by far, the worst part of this season is easily the finale. And a lot of the character arcs and the themes that they've been building to this season have zero satisfying conclusions. So the finale starts with Homelander showing up to where Ryan is, and Grace runs outside and tells him to stay away, and Homelander can hear her messing with her phone in her back pocket, which just goes to show how inconsistent his powers are. And then Homelander forgives Ryan and they fly away. Back at Vought Tower, the feds are about to knock on their door because they got a search warrant to look for Maeve, so they start moving Maeve, but Maeve breaks out of that truck and hightails it to where Starlight is. Frenchie was able to get a dose of Novajak, which is a weapon that the Russians used to knock out Soldier Boy. Back at the tower, Noir is very hellbent and wanting to kill Soldier Boy, and Homelander really likes that, I guess. And then when Butcher stops at a gas station, he ends up knocking out Huey because he learned that the temp fee is pretty lethal and can have horrible effects on you, so he stops him from getting killed. And then Huey ends up calling Starlight for him to get picked up. Butcher and Soldier Boy continue to New York, and they end up going to the boys' HQ, where Soldier Boy goes into his past and his relationship with his father, and this is probably one of the only great scenes in this finale, because we're able to understand why Soldier Boy is the way he is. He isn't just one note. Back at the tower, Black Noir is getting ready for battle to fight Soldier Boy, but then Homelander asks him if he knew that Soldier Boy was his dad the entire time, and he admitted that he did know, and so he ends up getting killed by Homelander, which, by the way, most this season has been building up the confrontation between Black Noir and Soldier Boy just for all that to be gone in the name of subverting expectations. Maeve and the rest of the gang show up at the boys' HQ, and then Maeve betrays the gang and takes a Novajak and throws it out the window where that could kill tons of innocent people, and then Butcher puts him in a safe that's in the HQ. They eventually get out though. Then Butcher, Soldier Boy, and Maeve get to the tower to kick Homelander's ass, and Soldier Boy is like, "Where's Black Noir?" and Homelander is like, "Oh, I killed him." And then he shows Ryan to Soldier Boy, and then they're like, "We can be a family." And then Soldier Boy was like, "That's cool and all, but I wish I could raise you, and you're kind of dumb and a pussy, so I gotta kill you. You're a disappointment." And so they're about to kill him, but then Ryan shoots Soldier Boy with his laser beams, and then Soldier Boy smacks him with his shield.
Annihilated.
And then because of that, Butcher just decides to betray him. And then Soldier Boy's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And Butcher's like, "Oh, well, I promised to protect the kid." And it's like, okay, why don't you just grab the kid and take him somewhere else? Meanwhile, Soldier Boy can kill Homelander. You were given Homelander on a silver platter, but nah, you just turn against it cause plot reasons and Homelander having tons of plot armor. Because the writers don't have the balls to kill off Homelander. And they roped themselves into a corner so they had to make a contrived reason as to why they can't kill Homelander yet. What was the point of this season, man? While Butcher and Soldier Boy are throwing hands, Maeve is trying to kill Homelander and somehow causes his nose to bleed. Despite her, being afraid of him for seasons and gassing him up as all-powerful, she's able to fucking damage him. And later on, it gets even more stupid with Homelander's inconsistency in durability and power. And then when Soldier Boy's about to kill Butcher, the rest of the gang show up. It's pretty much everyone versus Soldier Boy, and he's kicking everyone's ass. Meanwhile, Frenchie's making a new batch of Novajak, and Vought soldiers come in, try to stop him, and Kamiko is having fun killing them? Okay, her whole thing is that she doesn't want to become a monster and she wants to use her powers to protect the ones she loves. But then all that is completely contradicted when she's just fucking killing these people who are just doing their job. What are you doing, show? Frenchie ends up getting shot because she's too busy having fun and murdering these random people when she easily could have just knocked them out with a punch or something. And then Huey is there and he evacuates everyone in the Vought Tower and they all leave and stuff. So then anyway, back to the final fight, everyone ends up getting their asses kicked and they're about to lose, but then Huey ends up turning up all the lights and stuff in the room, and then Starlight starts charging up or whatever, and then Soldier Boy decides to stand there like a dumbass for 15 to 30 seconds instead of acting and fucking killing her. And so Starlight ends up using her power and charging up and hitting Soldier Boy and ends up doing fuck all. This is what I'm saying, man. They can never give Annie a moment for her powers to be cool. She's always getting shit on. And then when Soldier Boy's getting up, they all decide to jump him, and they try using the Novichok, but then that ends up not working, and he's like, I'm not going back in that box, and then he's charging up, and then it cuts back to Maeve and Homelander fighting, and she ends up stabbing him with a fucking metal straw? And so she sees what's about to happen, everyone's about to die, and so all this is edited and plays out like a shitty CW superhero show. And then Maeve tackles Soldier Boy out of the tower, and he explodes, and then Maeve dies, so that's cool, I guess. And this moment isn't really satisfying at all, because Maeve was barely in this season. I think, honestly, they should have kept Black Noir alive and had Black Noir do that shit, and it would have been a lot more of a satisfying conclusion to his character, but nah, Maeve had to take that spot. So after the final battle, Butcher ends up passing out because he took too much Temp V, and the doc tells him that he has about like a year or so before he kicks the bucket. And then there's a celebration on TV for Queen Maeve because, you know, she died. And then wait, what? She's alive? How is she alive? Okay, she literally jumped out of a building with Soldier Boy, and he explodes, which takes away your powers, so she should be either killed from the blast or from the fucking fall. This fucking show, man. The plot armor is so ridiculous. I swear, these writers have the inability to kill characters, man. Soldier Boy ends up getting put in the box again. Starlight ends up joining the boys, and Victoria Newman is running for vice president with Dakota Bob. So in the final scene, Homelander flies to a group of his supporters and introduces his son. And then someone throws a can at his son, and he gets called a libtard. Fuck libtard! And then Homelander lasers his fucking head off. And instead of the crowd fucking running away in fear, they decide to sit there and cheer because, you know.
Well, I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any bonus, okay?
Get it? He's supposed to be an allegory of Donald Trump. Get it, folks?
Donald Trump. Are you aware that Donald Trump is the President of the United States?
It took away any sense of groundedness that this show had in order for the satire. What a disaster of a finale, man. This season was going so good, all you had to do was land the plane, but you blew it. 6.5 to a 7 out of 10.